We continue our offseason LA Kings coverage with a very special fan interview and introduce you to the LA Royal Army on this edition of Locked on LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked on LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a positive comment on Apple Podcasts if you're a fan of the show. And we're also on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked on LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. Also co-host of the Puck Podcast. It's a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 16 years. And of course, a passionate LA Kings fan for 30 years. On today's show, we're going to introduce you to the LA Royal Army. Some of you may know about them already. Maybe some of you don't. Some of you may have seen their work driving up the 110 freeway during the playoffs. Some of you may hear them at Kings games. We're going to find out more about them, how they started, what they're all about. And with that, we welcome in one of the generals of the LA Royal Army. His name is David Balthazar, and better known as DJ. Hey, DJ, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us. It's great to get to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's fun to be here. I'm appreciative.
Yeah. First off, just tell us a little bit about you. Are you a SoCal native, and how did you become a Kings fan?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much have been in LA my whole life. I've obviously grown up out here. I've been going to King games since I was 1. So yeah, I was born in 87. The Kings got Gretzky in 88, and my dad got season seats in 89. So I've been going to King games since literally 1989. I've been growing up going to the games. So yeah, I love the team. You know, they're my everything, and it's obviously a lot of ups and downs being a Kings fan. Recently, you know, we had a good run. We won some cups. It's great, but you know, overall, it's fun. It's exciting. You know, being the Royal Army, is what fuels that, because you know, growing up with the Kings and all that kind of stuff, I've always wanted, you know, the fan base to take it up to another level, to be, you know what I mean, something more than, you know what I mean. I want us to be like, you know, an intimidating arena. I want people to, you know what I mean, know that there are passionate Kings fans. I feel like, you know, overall, you know, Kings fans kind of get a bad rap as far as people like to, because, you know, a warmer climate, you know, hockey team and those kind of fans, we don't get the love, I feel like. So part of my thing is, you know what I mean, like I know firsthand. I've grown up around the Kings. I have so many friends from, you know, the Kings and stuff like that. I'm like, no, it's, you know, there's some passionate, you know, diehard people who love their team, and you know what I mean. And that's what it's about for me. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's the whole
absolutely.
thing.
I hear you, man. How did the LA Royal Army get founded? Were you a part of that, and how long has it been around?
Yeah. So well, the group's been around since 2011. I wasn't part of the group. I came on the group maybe like 3 or 4 months in. But yeah, it's been around since 2011. It started off in originally it was up in section 208, I think, at Staples Center, and we started, you know, from the beginning. We started doing stuff like invasions, where we'd, like, you know, go to Anaheim. We would do, you know, the Frozen Fury. We do a Frozen Fury bus trip every year. That was, you know, a huge thing for us. Um, it's been we like a couple years after the cup, you know, the group kind of died down. Before, I would only ever do like social media and stuff like that. So I'd say like around 2015, the group kind of, you know, petered out a little bit, and I took over in right before the pandemic. Honestly, it was like in 2020. You know, I became the president of the group, and I was like, you know, my goal is not only to revive the group, but to take the group to, you know, the next level. Do, you know what I mean? Trying to bring, you know, the supporters group kind of style, which you know, a lot of people, well, you know, automatically say it's soccer style, but no, you know, like in Europe and stuff like that, they support hockey much differently. It's, you know, much more passionate. You know, they're traveling with the team and stuff like that. They're in the stands. You know, they just have a presence. I always, you know, saw that kind of vision, and you know, I want my team to have, you know, a next level kind of, you know, passionate fan base that do, you know, these kind of events and do these kind of things and stuff like that. So, you know, when I took over, that was one of my main my main missions, my main goals, and the obviously COVID kind of made that a little bit harder, so we kind of had to put it on the back burner, especially when fans weren't allowed in the building and stuff like that. So last year was like our first year, not this past season, but the previous season. That was our first year, going for it and working with the Kings front office, trying to set something up with them so we can have a presence in the arena. So we have our section and being able to do things like bring our drums in, bring flags in, stuff like that. Average fan can't do that, but we have to get permission. So we're having to go through that whole process and that whole thing, do that stuff. And at first it kind of started off was kind of rough. I feel like people aren't familiar with what that kind of style supporting is about. And I think it was really different for people. But as the games have gone on, we've not only adapted as a group, but we've made friends and everybody around us in the sections. You know what I mean? Like we've become closer to those kind of people, and a lot of people have joined over from other sections into our section. So this last season, honestly, was probably our best season yet that we've had as a group, because we saw membership, people being involved as a group, like grow immensely. We did usually, before our big invasions are always Anaheim. This last season, we went to San Jose. We did a bus trip over there on Black Friday, and that was so much fun. And a lot of people, on that trip signed up even for season tickets just to be part of the group, because, they saw what we're about. They saw, how passionate we are and everything like that. And, just little things like that. We have so many events throughout the year where we just, people are learning about us, meeting us, joining us, more importantly. And then, we continue to grow and grow and grow. And unfortunately, I feel like, at the end of, the season ended, I feel like we had so much momentum, and we were like, doing so much. It kind of makes it even harder. Not only does your team lose, but like, as running the group, like we lose a bunch of that steam, and then we know, next season you got to start it up all over again and get it going. But yeah, like as far as like the history of the group's been around for 12 years, 12 years. And but the last couple of years, I feel like is the first time we've taken the group to like the next level.
I know that when you approach an organization about being recognized, that there's more that goes with that than just kind of being a fan group. You're
Right.
representing yourselves, but you also are representing the Kings as well. How has the organization kind of embraced what you want to do, and also kind of made it to where it's something that's also positive, like a positive reflection of the Kings?
Yeah, so right off the get go, that was something that when we're having our meetings with the Kings, just to get the meetings, we have to let them know basically our vision and our goals, what I mean, as a group would be. And it's from at the very basics is just having a presence at the arena, just being able to have our energy translate onto the ice, and hopefully energize the players, doing what we can as fans to try to make a difference. That's the biggest kind of thing. And they're familiar because the Rain had a German supporters group that Eisbären Berlin had come out, a few years ago, and they had seen that firsthand. And those guys were awesome. The whole game they stood up and were waving flags, and they were super into it. So they kind of firsthand saw how like European style of supporting hockey teams, is a little bit different than the traditional North American style. So they already had that in their mind. So as we're trying to like pitch that kind of, culture change, which basically what it is an entire culture change. They're on board with that. But like you said, it's at the end of the day, we're also, when we're doing these kind of things, representing the team as well. So, we also don't want to like rock the boat and, upset the fan base or anything like that. We want to be universally like accepted and, have people understand what the goal is. The goal is to, translate the energy onto the ice. And hopefully that if we can make even the smallest difference for the team on the ice just by being loud and, encouraging in the stands, then that's all worth it for us. Especially like, one of the things I told them is, at times, at Staples Center, now at Crypto, it feels like the energy in the building is just like dead. It feels like, a library at times. I know, like, playoff stuff like that, the building's rocking, but I'm just talking like, the average regular season game, where sometimes, as a fan, I wish we can energize. And like I'm saying, that was one of the big things that I'm telling them. Like, I want it to be like every game we can get it going. We can get chance going. We can get anything just to make the smallest difference. That's enough for us. So they were on board. They saw what it was about, and they agreed to give us a certain, amount of seats that we can start to get this going with, and, see how it grows and stuff like that. And single season is only been bigger and bigger. This upcoming season, I'm not sure on the updated numbers, but I feel like we've almost doubled the amount of season holders in our general area coming into this next season, and that's all based off of the previous playoffs and the stretch run we had there at the end. Like, we had so many new people on board signing up, because we have a booth at the arena right up outside of section 303. So we were actively pushing and promoting the season tickets and trying to get people into the arena, into our section, because you're telling them the vision and what you want it to be, and so many people are on board for that. So the kids in return see that kind of stuff as well, and they're seeing that. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, at first, where it was a little rough and we had a little pushback, because I feel like the unfamiliarity with it and just like the amount of noise as opposed to a normal game was just, I feel like, a big shocker for people. But like I'm saying, the more it's gone on, not only of the Kings, but I feel like the fan base as well has kind of seen what we're about and what we're trying to do. Not trying, you know what I mean? We're not trying to be anything negative or take away from the game. If anything, we're trying to add to it and make a contribution as fans, to the game itself.
We're going to have more with DJ. Going to talk about something that I think got a lot of people's attention during the playoffs that the Royal Army was able to do with a sign that a lot of people saw, including myself, as we were headed down to the arena. Real quick, though, I want to let you know that today's episode of Locked on LA Kings is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals are set to start tonight. Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat. And now's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back. It's a bonus bet. If your first bet doesn't win, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then when you can bet on everything from the money line to points scored, three-pointers made. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, continuing with DJ from the LA Royal Army. And I was on my way to Crypto.com Arena not long ago, and the Kings were taking on the Oilers in the playoffs, and driving up the 110, and I see this sign on a freeway overpass, and your group was behind it. It was showing support for the Kings. It was really cool. I know it got a lot of attention for you. Whose idea was it, and how did you kind of make it happen?
Yes, so it was my idea, but I'm not sure how familiar you are with the LA Galaxy and LAFC soccer, local soccer teams. Every so often, they'll put banners. I've noticed on the overpasses, kind of going back and forth with each other. So I because they're huge rivals, so obviously they're having fun with it. I saw it and I was like, that's a cool idea, and I'd like to do something. I want to do something, to kind of make a statement, something to try to not only for the fans but for the players. So then my idea was knowing, that almost all the players live out in South Bay. I'm like, knowing that, I know that they're gonna have to take the 105 east to the 110 north, right? So then now I'm thinking, okay, if the players are driving this would be their route. I'm thinking, okay, what bridges cross over not only the normal freeway but also the fast track carpool lanes as well. So just what bridge. So then I driving the route on the way to the game, I'm studying every bridge, and I realized, okay, the Slauson exit of the metro covers both sides of the freeway. It doesn't matter what lane you're in. You could be in the bus lane, you could be in the fast track lane, you could be in the regular lane. That bridge goes over all of them. At one point, I know the 110, the carpool lane is above the regular lane, so that kind of made it a little tougher. I was like, that's the one spot. I was like, okay. So then I was like, what could we do? So I'm like, maybe just I want the players to see it. And I was like, okay, maybe. And this was probably around February when we were talking about this. So I was like, all right, I want to do something maybe for the first game of the playoffs, just to not only make a statement, like I'm saying, so people can take pictures and repost, but also for the players, so they can know, on their way into the arena, that the city, is behind them, and the city, this is, something big that the whole city is seeing. So then we originally obviously thought that the Kings are going to have home ice advantage, because we were doing so well up until the last 2 weeks into the season. So we were like, all right, game one, this is where it's going to happen. So I think we ended the season in Anaheim. We had an invasion. So then that following weekend, we're like, all right, I'm gonna try to get a crew together. We posted online, and then a lot of our guys in the group were like, let them know, all right, so we're gonna go buy. We went to downtown LA, just bought a big roll of literally fabric. We brought it back, and then we, I made the design on my computer. We stenciled it out, and then we had basically a painting party, and we spent a whole afternoon painting this entire banner. It says "Go Kings Go." And it had the Stanley Cups in it. It had our logos, and then that sounds like the hard part, but the actual putting it up, because we haven't done anything like that, so we had to get the crew together and figure out a way to get the hooks, right hooks into the fence and make sure it's safe and secure up there, that we can leave it up there. And originally, the original plan was we were before game one, which ended up being game three. That was our first home game there, and then we're like, all right, well, let's just see how long it lasts. You know what I mean? I'm not sure, like, if the cops are going to come through, take it down, or some other crazy person's going to come through and start messing with it. Like, I'm not sure. I was like, let's just see what happens, right? So we ended up going to the game. Like I said, we have the booth there, so we're at the booth, and everyone who starts coming up to us like, oh my god, you guys, we saw the banner, it was amazing. And then I'm like, it's still up there, and they're like, yeah, we just got it, it's still up. So I was like, cool, made it. Like, at least I know at least the players are in the building, so I'm hoping at least the players had seen it. So yeah, it was up there. Our social media is blowing up. So then as we're leaving, with a bunch of the guys and stuff, we're like, somebody had messages, somebody's friend, I guess, had seen that it was still up, and we're like, should we go and get it? Or like, should we leave it up, or what should we do? And they were like, all right, let's just go get it. Let's just try to retrieve it. So yeah, we went up there, and honestly, it's not the best area, but so two of us went up there, and then, at this point, it was almost midnight. By the time we got out of the arena and got to the car and went to go get it, it was around midnight. We took it down, and then after that, Bailey's, was it Bailey Sports West, hit us up, and we're like, we want to do a piece about it. We want to talk about it. Are you guys planning on doing it for game 4? Which originally we were just going to do game 3. And I was like, I'm not planning, but I do have it. Like, we can do it. We can go put it back up there. Like, well, we don't want to force you guys. We're like, all right, we'll do it. Don't worry about it. So then that's, game 4, same thing. We went back, put it up there, left it in the middle, like almost at midnight. We went, took it back, and we grabbed it again. So yeah, it ended up being cool. So then I guess, we had heard word back that during one of the post-game interviews after game 3, Todd McClellan acknowledged it, and he said, basically, paraphrasing him, he was saying, going to the arena, seeing that up there, really made us feel good about coming to the arena. So as soon as, I relayed that message to everybody else, like, the coach not only did, but he, said this in the media about our banner, everybody was extra hyped. Everybody was like, oh, let's do this. And then our original plan was doing, a different banner for every round or something else, keep growing on it. Obviously that didn't work out, but, not to say that we won't do the same thing in the future.
Well, it definitely got my attention. I certainly took a picture of it on my drive up, posted it on social media. I'm sure you got a lot of great press about it. So that's very cool for what you did, to, make everybody excited about it, and also to promote your club as well. So that was if that was your idea, whoever's idea that was a home run for sure. I want to ask you though about, you mentioned it, the invasions is another thing for the LA Royal Army. Specifically, it seems like for the most part, you mentioned that you did take a bus to San Jose, but going down to Anaheim and having an organized group kind of go down there, I think it's an awesome idea. I've been to games down at the Pond as a Kings fan. I know about the takeover down there, and I know, frankly, that their fans don't like it one bit, which makes it more entertaining for us as Kings fans. Have you gotten any pushback from the Ducks on that? And how did that whole thing start, the invasions?
So yeah, like I mentioned before, we've been doing those since 2011. I think we did them in 2011. We did them in 2012, and I think there was a lockout to start 13, and we may have done one that year. And then after that, they had died out, and we brought them back last year. I think during preseason we did one, and then we did the 2 regular season games. This year we did another preseason and 2. Yeah, so we've done 6 in the last 2 years, and yeah, it's every time, every event, it gets bigger than the previous one. Every single time people see it, and just between social media and word of mouth and all that, what I mean, it continues to grow and it becomes a bigger thing. So the one we did in February, we had about 300 people, a little less than 300 people, and it was just, it's crazy, it's awesome, especially not only is the whole arena, but you're in a concentrated section with nothing but Kings fans. They're being loud and cheering, and then especially when the Kings are winning, everybody gets even louder and even crazier because you know what I mean. You're fueling off of everybody. So that February one is probably one of the craziest ones. So knowing the last game of the season was in the April one, like we're like, all right, let's continue getting bigger. Unfortunately, though, we had gotten word back that I guess the Ducks are aware of the group and what we're doing, so they limited our amount of tickets for the first time. That was the first time they kind of throttled us a bit, and we ended up getting, I think, we were like at 225. I want to say it was between 225 250 tickets, I think, for that one. But we had sold out basically like a week and a half in, and we're putting these up months in advance. So we knew there was a demand, and just based off of social media response and people messaging us and email and all that kind of stuff, we were like hitting up the Ducks and we're like, hey, we need at least another 150 tickets, and they're basically in a nicer way like, no, because they gave us an excuse that like there was only like 600 tickets left or something like that, and we were like, all right, so everybody's going on to like Ticketmaster and looking at how empty the arena is, and there's at least on the resale market there's way more, and from their actual inventory, which you can see on there seemed like way more. And then like a week later, we had seen the Ducks ran a promotion, and it was basically telling all diehard Ducks fans that they were offering tickets, undercutting not only our ticket, we're getting our tickets at group rates. They're offering the tickets even cheaper than our tickets, including like 50% off concessions and merch and all these other deals. And we were like, wow, like I thought there was like a limited amount, and then we see that they're running a promotion. So yeah, like we're like, all right, well, let's just try to do what we can. And then we let people know what sections we're in. So like if you're able to and you're willing to buy them on the resale market, try to get them close to us, and we'll all just try to pack it in together over there. So there's we were saying it would have been interesting. I'm glad it didn't happen, but it would have been interesting if the Ducks had won the lottery for Bedard, because I have a feeling they really wouldn't sell us any tickets, because I feel like the Ducks bandwagon would start to fill up again. But now that they didn't have that, and hopefully they're bottom feeding again, maybe they'll not throttle us, and this next season we can get even bigger, because like if we were able to just continue to sell with no limit, we could easily have done over 500 tickets for an invasion, and probably even more, because like I'm saying, it sells out in a week, and then like the 5 weeks leading up to the event, every day somebody's asking, hey, do you guys have any more tickets? I slept on, I messed up, or they sold out faster than we expected. And I tell them like, we're now as a group at a point where you kind of got to get your tickets early. You got to get them like in the first week to 2 weeks, because even though we're selling a month in advance, like it's even faster and faster. Every event that we put up, that it's selling out.
Very cool. Definitely want to get more information on how people can join the LA Royal Army. And I want to ask you specifically about maybe your biggest moment or your favorite moment as a Kings fan, because today is an anniversary of a big day, a big win for the LA Kings. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But real quick, I want to invite everybody to check out Locked On NHL. The Stanley Cup Final is set for Saturday. Florida Panthers against the Vegas Golden Knights. Boo. I'm actually excited about this matchup, though. I think it'll be a good matchup. But rooting for the Florida Panthers in this one. If you want to keep up to date on all the Stanley Cup playoff action, check out Locked On NHL. It's your daily show on all things going on in the NHL. That's Locked On NHL, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, DJ, again, want to get some information, how people can join the Royal Army, get more information about it, any upcoming events that you have. But today, I don't know if you know this or not, 9 years ago today, June 1st, 2014, and thanks to the Kingstorian on Twitter for reminding me of this, the LA Kings, LA Kings beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-4 in overtime on the Alec Martinez goal in Chicago to advance to the Stanley Cup Final. I've said this before many times. That was the most emotional game I've ever been a part of. And I've been at the two games where the Kings won their Stanley Cup. But remember the New Jersey game in 2012, we were celebrating in the second period because that game was pretty much over. And then even the double overtime against the Rangers, we knew that wasn't an elimination game. If we would have lost, there were still more games to be able to win it. So that game in Chicago, and, it was kind of, everybody thought that was the real kind of Stanley Cup Final. Like whoever was going to win that game was going to win the cup. And I just remembered in overtime, I had this feeling in my stomach. I just was like almost sick every shot. I was just like living and dying. And then when they won, I was running around my house, jumping up and down. My wife jumped into my arms. We were just laughing and celebrating. It was the most fun feeling I've ever had as a Kings fan. So it's a great day as an anniversary if you're a Kings fan. Do you have a moment? Do you have something that happened with the Kings that you always remember as kind of the moment as a Kings fan?
Yeah, first, what you mentioned, shout out to King's Historian on Instagram and Twitter, 'cause that's one of my favorite, honestly, one of my favorite social media accounts, just because, like you're saying, like there's so many little things that I get reminded of, or like moments like, today's kind of thing where it's like, you don't forget about it, but just to be reminded about it is just like, oh yeah, and then like it brings up all those memories. Same like you're saying, even this game, that Chicago series specifically in 2014, like you said, that was the final that year. Everybody I feel like acknowledges, but not only that, I feel like during the Kings, that 3-year run, I feel like that was probably the most intense series of any matchup, including any of the two finals matchups. Obviously, we lost to them in 2013, but in 2014 to win it in Game 7 on the road, all the circumstances, even like you're saying, just that goal, Martinez's goal itself, like it was kind of like a fluttering wrist shot, from the point, just like that's like I remember when it happened, like I wasn't even sure it went in. I mean, I kind of thought it went wide, but just seeing everybody reacting, my thing is, like, especially during playoff hockey, because same thing, I get way too nervous. I can't I can't even sit down. I'm like pacing around because I'm like high stress. Game 7 overtime, like it does not get any worse than that on the nerves. Now I think even what I do, how I cope with the anxiety of those kind of games is I'll mute the TV, because just hearing the crowd and stuff like that, like every chance, like that kind of thing gives me nervous. So like I'll mute the TV, and I think I had the TV muted, and I'm just staring at it and then reacting to it. Like you said, just you lose it. That's probably one of the top ones. Obviously, the next series, that overtime winner of Martinez, is very special. But I think one of the top moments, I think, was in 2012, that last game against the Devils. As a Kings fan, your whole life, I'm always like, are we ever going to win the cup? I'm like, is this ever going to happen? Like, am I ever going to see it in my lifetime? I've seen so many horrible teams to be at this point. Like, is it finally going to happen? And I remember, not only the major penalty, but at the end, I think it was Trevor Lewis had the empty net goal. It wasn't even the last goal. I think it was like the second to last goal. But I remember when he was skating with the puck and he shot the puck, like I started crying. I was like, finally this is going to happen. Like, this is actually going to happen. This is real. Like, there's always a part of me where I feel like last 5 minutes, they're going to go on some crazy power play and come back. Like, it's not going to real. Like, it's going to, be like taken from you. At that moment, I finally, like, the first time in my life, I realized like I'm actually going to get to see the Kings win the cup. And I feel like that one just holds, like, it's such a meaningless, empty net goal. But at that point, it was real. Like, the Kings winning the cup is actually a real thing that's going to happen. So yeah, I honestly put all those moments, and that 3-year span, even now, reflecting back, it's just like, you always want to be in the moment and live in the moment, but just to be able to reflect on, how dominant the Kings were and all the, all those crazy records and that run that they did is just, amazing as a fan. Most fans of their teams, whatever sport they were playing, never get to experience anything like that. And, it's really awesome to just look back and, realize that you're a part of it in, some way, and you got to see it. And like, even obviously you want the Kings to win every year, but it's like the saying, you can die happy knowing at least you saw them win it. At least we saw them win it twice and that kind of thing. And that makes years of being a fan, all of that worth it.
Yeah, no doubt. And as you know, there were times where as a Kings fan, you really didn't know if it would ever happen. So
100%.
for it to finally happen was amazing. And I turned my wife into a hockey fan and a Kings fan, which is great. She's a diehard Chargers fan, and she tells me all the time, do you think we'll ever win one in my lifetime? And I wish I could tell her yes, but we don't know. That's one of the things about sports. You never know how it's going to work out. I hope she can experience what we experienced sometime with her team. But there were some great times as Kings fans, obviously, during that 3-year span. Hopefully there's some good times still to come.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, great anniversary. And by the way, the Kings historian is scheduled to be on this show next week.
Okay.
He's currently on his honeymoon, but he is still tweeting, and he tweeted that out. So we'll definitely talk to him about that on next week's show. Yeah. Hey, DJ, it's been great to talk to you. Let people know how they can get more information, how they can join, give them all the information. I know you've got an event coming up as well with the Dodgers.
Yeah, so our next event we have is July 24th. We're doing Kings Night at Dodger Stadium. We have a package of $55. You come get into the Royal Army section. Every event invasion, we give a patch. So you'll get a patch. And then the giveaway for everybody who buys that package is a co-branded Kings Dodgers jersey. So you'll get that also. I think we have like less than 50 tickets left on that one. But yeah, just in general, any Royal Army event, we have membership, but it's not required to be a part of the group. You don't need to be a member or buy a membership plan to participate. You can come to any game in Section 303, hang out with us, hit the drums, wave some flags. Any invasion, you can just buy tickets. In September we'll be releasing next year's membership plan. We'll have new scarves and new items and all that kind of fun stuff. So be on the lookout for that. And just stay up to date with us on our social media. Our username's LA Royal Army, and that's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the big three that we have. So yeah, follow us then. We're always posting updates for any new events or any little things that we're doing. We have a couple of events planned for this, during the summertime. We want to do a couple different things. So just be on the lookout on our social media, and you can stay up to date with everything.
All right, DJ. Well, all the best with the LA Royal Army. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you out at crypto.com arena next season, and best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that interview. And we hope all the best for the LA Royal Army. That was very, very cool to find out more about their group. Obviously, we've got one more show left in the week for you everydayers. Those of you that listen and watch every day, want to let you know that tomorrow is our weekly Kings fan feedback show. You got any questions, any comments about anything involving the Kings, let us know. What was your biggest fan moment as an LA Kings fan? You can also talk about anything we talked about on the shows this week. We had those player profiles on Victor Arvidsson and Phoenix Copley. Took a look back at the 2018 NHL draft for the Kings. Asked you, are you rooting for any of the former Kings players still playing for the Golden Knights? Are you torn about seeing Alec Martinez and Jonathan Quick playing for the Stanley Cup this year? Anything you want, it's all up to you. It's your show. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE, lockedoneddie@gmail.com. You can also put your comments on the YouTube episodes below. Those are always welcome. And you can stay interactive with the show as well. Twitter, @LockedOnLAKings, Instagram, @LockedOnLAKings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. And as always, go Kings, go.